Hey everyone, Yasin here, and in this composition lesson, I'm going to be talking about the rule of thirds. Now, this is probably the most widely used composition rule, and the reason is that it's very simple and it's very effective. So here we have two compositions, and it's just one horizontal and one vertical. It's a table with a vase of flowers. So basically, the rule of thirds is explaining where to put focal points or where to line things up. So all you do is you divide your page into thirds. So every third you make lines, and then at the points, at the intersection points where the lines cross, that's where you'd have a focal point. So here, 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 here. And it's also a good idea to place points of interest on these lines if possible. So let's just say I wanted to correct this composition to make it fit the rule of thirds. And again, this is, this is a rule, but it doesn't really mean that you have to follow this. It's just it creates appealing compositions pretty easily. So I would just move like the table so it's on that third, and then I would move this flower pot, here or maybe here. And instantly it's a better composition. So I don't know why, but I like it better on this side. And we could do the same thing for the other side. Just move the table so it lands on that third, and move the vase. So there we go. So now these are two appealing compositions. Alright, now here I have a little bit of a more complicated composition. But we can still use the rule of thirds and just play around with things. So one thing I could do is I could pretty much, we all know the focal point is probably going to be this lighthouse and probably the top of it. It's just what stands out the most. It's an area of contrast. So we can move this around. We could put the lighthouse here, and that's a pretty interesting composition. Again, I'm keeping the lighthouse on this line here. Could move it really low. That's not so great. Try putting it up here. And I can also line this ground plane to this horizontal line, and that'll give, again, an interesting composition. I could raise it so the water is higher and actually on this line. And so that's a lot better composition than when we started. And again, could lower the water, could just move things around a lot just to see, could raise things. So still you've got a lot of interest happening on a third. So you can experiment quite a bit. It doesn't have to be so specific. It just creates interesting compositions, just having this in mind, placement on thirds. And there's another thing, which is that after you've used this a lot, because it's so widely used, it's a very common composition trick or tool or rule. Sometimes it gets boring, so you might want to vary things up by putting things near thirds but not exactly on them, and it might be more interesting because it's just you still feel it, but it's got a little bit of spice to it, I guess you could say. So I'd encourage you to play around with it. Now, if you're in Photoshop CS6. I'm not sure if CS5 has it, maybe. But if you use the crop tool and you just select your image, it automatically has an option to, give you thirds. So that's something you can do as well. And so the next lesson is going to be on low horizons and high horizons. And I hope you got something out of this lesson, and thanks for watching.